policing policy. That is, in a communique, Governor Dave Umahi, who is chairman of the Southeast Governor Forum, said the response to security challenges by the governors is to set up a committee and a Center for Southeast Integrated Security Monitoring Intelligence Gathering Center in Enugu. The forum says that it will establish a forest guard in each of the southeast states, and one of their work will be all roads will be cleared 50 meters into the bush to have a clear view of the highway. The security committee will also address safety of pipeline routes to Enugu, particularly to ensure the pumping of petrol to the southeast. Governor Umahi also reiterated that there is no land in the southeast for the Ruga scheme. The forum resolved to put funds together to support the people in the southeast region, particularly in areas of rice, cassava, and other cash crops, as well as cattle and goat rearing, piggery, and poultry suitable for the region. The other interesting story now is that West Africa Examination Council has released results of 2019 school certificates, and they are enjoining candidates to take one of two steps. One is to view your results on the website of the West Africa Examination Council. The second is to receive the result via an SMS. And so candidates are supposed to go to the WAEC website, enter their center number as well as seat number, write your registration number, and then the fourth step is to select the examination types indicating school certificate result, and then you put in your scratch card PIN number and then submit. That will produce for you the results. So congratulations to those who are expecting, and we hope that it will enhance, combining it with the AJAM to secure the admission to the universities.
That's right. I
funny enough, you know,
I read a report earlier. I read a report earlier that apparently the best student was a female, some 16-year-old,
yes,
who scored a distinction in all our subjects. I think A1 all through. I'm not quite sure, but it's only one source that I read it. But I'm sure that in the coming days there will be more details.
Yes, the details, yes,
that will be revealed.
But unfortunately, you know, most of the people that I've seen who did the exams, yes, the results could have been judged, you know, not okay at about 64%. They said it did.
64% compared to what it was in the past. There's been an improvement.
There's been an improvement, but most
before,
people,
yes,
you know,
yes,
it's either they have like 5 or 6 credits, there's maths, there's no English, or there's English, there's no maths.
Yes, and these days, if you don't have credit in English and maths, getting admission become a problem.
That's true. That's true. Before Rhoda comes in with the editorial, last week, you recall, one of the headlines that we read from the front pages of the papers had to do with the snake that was said to have been found in the ceiling, in the cracked ceiling of the House of Assembly complex in Ondo. That's Akura, that's the state capital. It turns out, or it appears now, that that probably was a hoax, because the state governor, Akeredolu, visited the House of Assembly complex. Of course, he was livid. I mean, I saw the footage on one of the news bulletins on one of the stations, asking, so look, where did the snake come from? Was the House of Assembly in session when they said they saw the snake? Where did the photographs come from? There seemed now to be the allegation that perhaps, you know, it was some Photoshop that came out. They said they're going to investigate it. Yes, the assembly complex is probably not well maintained, yeah, but that the story about the assembly members being stampeded out of the chambers on account of an anaconda or a python that was found in the ceiling is apparently not true. That's what the governor said. Akeredolu, of course, is a senior advocate of Nigeria and the former president of the NBA.
Yes, even the stories that was on the social media were contradictory. One said the snake dropped and escaped, it couldn't be killed. Another said the snake dropped and it was killed. And what the governor is saying that the drop ceiling, the squares that have dropped from the ceiling had dropped long time ago, and it has not just dropped. And he confirms that, yes, the State House of Assembly had been in depreciable condition. But it was not true that that incident happened while the State Assembly was in session. So who is trying to peddle falsehood? And such falsehood should not come from a state legislature.
But just as you said, Kingsley said,
Politics.
what is being said that probably, you know, it was to draw attention to the state of the assembly complex.
Well, that is too dramatic a lie to
absolutely.
to
and then you ask yourself, Bayo,
to make a point.
Yeah, you ask yourself, where were the reporters? There should be a press gallery in the assembly. So they couldn't ask their reporters to say, look, what happened? Was the assembly in session when they said they saw the snake, this phantom snake, as it turns out?
So that brings us to the issue of fake news again. All right, very quickly, let's take a look at the Daily Sun. That's where we have our editorial this morning, and it's on the new power generation deal. The federal government has signed a 6-year electricity roadmap agreement with a German company, that's a Siemens AG, to enhance the nation's electricity generation from the current 4,000 megawatts to 11,000 megawatts in 2023. The deal was signed by President Muhammadu Buhari and Mr. Joe Kaiser, the global chief executive officer of Siemens, and the power deal, which comes under the Nigerian electrification roadmap, is structured to be executed in 3 phases. Bayan, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yes, just a point of correction there. The agreement was put together by President Muhammadu Buhari and the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. However, in signing the agreement, it was the Director General of the Bureau for Public Enterprise who signed for Nigeria, while the Chief Executive of Siemens signed for the German company. However, the program is supposed to be in 3 phases. The first phase is to provide 3 extra megawatts to the current 4,000 that we have to bring it to 7,000 by the year 2021. The second phase will now increase the power generation capacity to about 11,000 megawatts. There is also a third phase that is expected to take generation to about 25,000 megawatts by the year 2025. However, the editorial is saying that it is good that there is an agreement. However, government must make sure that in this situation, the agreement has no middleman, and therefore Siemens and the BPE that's supposed to be monitoring it will ensure that things are going according to the plan. And they also have drawn attention that even currently, while generation is about 4,000, power generation had increased to about 5,222, but only 4,000 can be transmitted because of inadequacies in the transmission sector. So they are drawing attention that transmission must also be developed along the line while this generation is going on. And they have also advised that to take capacity beyond it, even the 25,000, efforts should continue with hydro like Mambila and other alternative power sources, particularly like the windmills in Katsina and also solar system, which Germany, incidentally, is also very good at, and that can be complement to support our power generation considerably.
Well, Bayo, thank you very much. The editorial is right. BP has to ensure that it supervises the implementation of the contract, but the BP itself also has to be properly supervised.
Yes.
Because part of the challenges that have arisen with the privatization of the power sector, in particular the challenges that the discos have been facing, some of it have arisen on account of the fact that the terms of the contract or the terms of the privatization have not been fully complied with. So where was BPE when the matters of the privatization of distribution, were just derailing? So BP itself also has to be put on its toes.
Yes, and BPE, I think, is the best person to anchor this because there is privatization already in the electricity generation business. And now that you are bringing an external body into power generation, BPE is the best person, the best entity to sit and ensure that there will be no contradictions within the privatization system, and also bringing in a foreign party now to help develop the power system.
All right, Bayo. Thank you very much for your thoughts and time this morning.
You.
Hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow morning.
All right, Bayo, take a bow and go.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's it on our newspaper review segment this morning. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we're looking at the proscription of Shiites. That's what we popularly would term as the Islamic movement in Nigeria. We have our guest already here in the studio, and I would like that you join us in just a moment for this discussion. Stay with us.
Protocol and event management are special skills which can only be acquired through training and experience. NTA TV College JOS is organizing a special 2-week course on protocol, event management, and public relations to upgrade the capacities of practitioners. The course will equip participants with modern skills, techniques, and international best practices in protocol, event management, and public relations. Also, a special 4-week intensive course on non-linear editing techniques will run concurrently. The course will expose participants to modern techniques and technologies of non-linear editing. Take advantage of this course to hone your professional skills for premium packaging of your programs and reports. The venue for both courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA Television College, near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos, Plateau State. Date 19th to 30th August 2019 for the course on protocol, event management, and public relations. 19th August to 13th September 2019 for basic non-linear editing techniques. Course fee 100,000 naira only per participant. Accommodation inclusive. For more information, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College JOS, training you to be the best you want to be.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to set a tone for our conversation this morning, which is on the court order proscribing the Islamic movement in Nigeria, and of course, its implications for national security. Let's take this background put together by our correspondent, Oyemi Ajayi.
The Islamic movement of Nigeria, otherwise known as Shiites, was founded by Ibrahim el-Zakzaky during his university days, when he is said to have become so impressed with the 1979 Iranian Revolution that he wanted one in his home country, Nigeria. Record also shows that he became the leader of the Islamic movement and turned it into a vehicle for gaining followers in the 1990s. The movement, which is said to have previously been known as a non-violent Islamic movement, has over the years lost that posture, with many incidences of violence associated with its processions, where they have not only ignored lawful authority, but also oppressed other citizens as they go about their lawful businesses. Their disdain for the laws of Nigeria and constituted authority led to confrontation with security agencies, including the Chief of Army Staff, which led to their confrontations. Subsequently, events led to the arrest and detention of their leader el-Zakzaky, who at the moment is undergoing trial at a Kaduna High Court. The Shiite leader is facing state charges including culpable homicide and unlawful assembly. His supporters have continued to mount deadly protests, leading to loss of lives and property in various parts of the country. Some of these confrontations in the Federal Capital Territory alone include the cases of Zuba, Nyanya, National Assembly, and recently at the Federal Secretariat, where a senior police officer and a journalist were killed. Shiite supporters have also recorded casualties in these protests, demanding for the release of their leader. Nigerians and the government have continued to express worry that the movement's violent protests are becoming a threat to national security, which must be tackled immediately. That is why the proscription order secured by the federal government did not come as a surprise to many. The federal government had sought the order in view of the responsibility imposed on it by the Constitution, making the protection of lives and property the number one duty of the government. By this order, the armed forces and the Federal Republic of Nigeria are justified to take whatever steps necessary to stop the growing violence. The order, however, gives the larger body of the followers of the Shiite faith will remain law-abiding in their activities to carry out their lawful religious activities without fear. Could this be the solution? Will this step bring to an end the numerous protests embarked upon by the group? These and other questions will be answered shortly on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Oyemi Ajayi, for that background report. And joining us now in the studio to discuss the proscription of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, not the Shiite, Islamic movement in Nigeria and national security is, of course, security expert. He is Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. Okay, sorry. Muhammad Ali is joining us from our Kaduna Network Center this morning. Muhammad Ali, good morning, and it's good to see you.
Morning. It's a pleasure being on this program this morning.
And now we have in our studios here also Aliyu Abdullahi. He is a legal practitioner. Aliyu Abdullahi, good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
A regular on the program, Mike Otsaha, a public affairs analyst and also a legal practitioner, is here with us in the studio this morning. Mike, it's always a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you, Rhoda. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
All right, gentlemen, just before we get into the legal issues that are embedded in the order that was granted by the Federal High Court, let's get back to Muhammad Ali to sketch for us, based on his own experience and interactions, what is playing out, for instance, in the Islamic movement in Nigeria. We have seen an escalation in the levels of their protests as well as the fatalities arising therefrom. In your opinion, what was happening within the group?
Essentially, the Ayman or the Shiites represent, every Shia community around the world represents an infrastructure upon which Iran plans, fund, and execute its subversive activities. And the Ayman in Nigeria is no exception to that. And for quite a long time, Nigeria has been regarded as a hotbed because of our size and number, and a potential site for Iranian Hezbollah subversive activities. So this is why whatever the Ayman are doing is not a surprise to those that actually know the problem or the intention of the Iranian government vis-a-vis the Hezbollah. So what they are doing is nothing other than their blind quest for the setting up of an Islamic Republic of Nigeria. This has been the agitation, and this started as far back as 1986 during the Funtua Declaration, when El-Zakzaky declared that there is no allegiance to any government in Nigeria, be it local government, state government, or the federal government. And it is because of that, in every state of the federation, the Shiites have what they call a governor, but is referred to as an Amir. They have local government chairman. So for this reason, it is very clear that we can say with confidence that the Islamic movement have for so long been running a government within a government, because when they are going on procession, ordinarily they are supposed to apply for police permit, but they don't do that because they do not recognize the existence of any government or any agency of government. This is what has been happening for the past 4 decades in this country. So as such, the ban coming as it did is timely, though it is better late than never. And viewers need to understand one thing. The Islamic movement in Nigeria, as the Shiites are known, is an usurpation. The actual Islamic Movement Association in Nigeria is a registered entity, registered on the 22nd of September 1986, with its head office at number 33B, Efelodun Street, Ako Oba, Agege, Lagos. So they tactfully removed association and refer to themselves as Islamic movement in Nigeria. So for the members of the unsuspecting public will assume they are registered. They are not registered. The Islamic Movement Association of Nigeria is a registered body with its office in Lagos. The general secretary of that association is one Salim O Yekini, with one Alhaji Fatai Akinsanya as one of the board of trustees members of the association. But IMN, led by Ibrahim El-Zakzaki, is not a registered entity. They are an illegal organization, so the proscription is very timely and is one of the best things government needs to do. But members of the public also need to understand banning them does not prevent them from practicing their religious duties. They can go on pilgrimage if they so wish. They can go to any mosque and pray with other Muslims if they so wish. But for them to congregate and constitute the nuisance they have been constituting on our roads is what has been banned, and that remains as it is.
Well, Muhammad Ali, still with you. Again, based on your own experience while you were in service, give us a sense, because we've heard on this program, and indeed through a wide variety of sources, that the Islamic movement in Nigeria says it doesn't owe any allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And if, as you also indicated, they appear to be running a parallel government, the question then arises, how are they able to manage their political economy? What are the sources of their funding, and why have these sources somehow eluded the security agencies?
The Economic Intelligence Unit needs to do a lot, but basically the Iranian embassy in Nigeria, they get their funding to the embassy from Iran. Apart from that, they have multiple tricycles and buses they are using for commercial purposes, so they generate money through that. They also run schools through which money is also generated in running the day-to-day activities. Be that as it may, we also have a sizable number of Lebanese Shia community living in this country, running to close to 5 million of them. Some of them it's established contributing and funding the activities of El-Zakzaki's IMN. So it is now left for our Economic Intelligence Unit to get to work to identify and block some of these sources of funding.
All right, thank you very much, Muhammad Ali. Now let's come to our guest here in the studio, Michael Saha. Well, this is a group that over time has been alleged to have a disdain for law and order even before now. How effective will this proscription be? And okay, let me first. How did you receive the news of the proscription, and how do you think effective this would be? Because the group has maintained or released a statement yesterday that they will continue to protest.
Yeah, and that's to be expected, Rhoda. I'm not quite sure the proscription order will bring about the desired effect. Listening to Muhammad Ali in Kaduna, I'm saying to myself, if truly this group is not registered, I don't know if you've seen the court order. I have seen, and it's the case of the Attorney General of the Federation and Islamic Movement of Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
Yes. So if it is not registered, as Muhammad Ali has alleged, then there are questions about the parties that are before the court. And this is speaking from my position as a lawyer. And I need to make that very clear. Kingsley, you know, and Ali, you also know that the question of juristic personality comes in. And I mentioned this to say there needed to be a greater rigor in responding to this movement than what we have so far seen. This is the 10th anniversary of the killing of the gentleman who was the head of Boko Haram. It started in July 2009. This is the 10th anniversary. And one would expect that 10 years with this kind of experience, we will have a greater rigor, will bring greater rigor to responding to these kinds of situations. I think the proscription order was a knee-jerk reaction. And we needed to do a little bit more background work, background checks, strategize properly in terms of responding to that. So now the group is saying, well, it's a joke. It's a huge joke. Who knows the next step that will happen? And are we really in a position to say that we want to deal with a second insurgency? These are the fundamental questions that we really need to ask ourselves. This is a group that, according to Muhammad Ali, has been in operation in this country for close to 40 years. Why did it take us this long? Why did it get us to the point where we have lost a very senior police officer? We have lost a young man, before we now come up with a knee-jerk reaction. So my point is, I think we need greater rigor, particularly with our experience with Boko Haram. We need greater rigor in dealing with movements like this. And I'm not quite sure the proscription order is the kind of thing that we should see at this time.
You're saying we should see more than that?
I mean, involvement of various stakeholders, the security services, of course, the Office of the Attorney General, the Director of SSS, and all of that. I mean, can't we have a situation room where we will brainstorm and say, from the legal point of view, this is what we think should happen. From the security point of view, this is what we think should happen. From the religious angle, even. This is what we think should happen.
Don't you think such consultations have been done before this proscription?
Well, I mean, there's no evidence to say so. I just told you the parties, even the parties before the court. There is an issue with the parties that are before the court.
Well, Mike, let's bring in Aliyu Abdullahi so that he also speaks to the question of the parties that were before the court. Now, if you look at the Terrorism Act, Boko Haram doesn't have to be a registered entity before the government proceeds against it by procuring the requisite order. But if an entity, this is just the jurisprudence of juristic personality, if an entity purports to be carrying on activities the way it does, issue statements and proclamations, would that not suffice? Must it then be a legal entity before the government can proceed against it on the ground that, listen, the intention is to declare it a terrorist outfit and thereby proscribe it?
Well, thank you, Kingsley, actually. I understand where my friend Mike is coming from. He's actually looking at the technicality of the laws. But you actually put it very clear. Boko Haram is not registered. If you go to, for example, the United Kingdom or the US, they have actually proscribed many organizations in the hundreds in number. And most of these organizations don't have any registration anyway. They don't even they may not have presence even in the United States or the United Kingdom, but nevertheless, they were actually proscribed or banned. Why? So the argument that they don't have registration with who, actually? Corporate Affairs Commission, does not really flow with me. The Nigerian authority, the people, the public knew who are the IMN. Yes. Today, their leader is being arraigned for bail, So some of their faces, they have a spokesman, They have some of the members that are really well known. So the debate about the registration of the organization, I think it shouldn't be the crux of the matter. But rather, you see, why did the government took the action it took in requesting for the proscription of the group? is because of the activities. And you said, why did it take this long for government to do that? It's a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think so. With due respect, I think government has been meticulous. They have given it a long rope to actually tie itself or themselves. And don't forget that at first, this organization were not violent before. They were peaceful in their operation. Yes, they were a nuisance, especially to the community where they were, their headquarters is area. We that came from that part of the country, we knew how they used to be. Annually, they used to have a procession, and they don't care, they don't respect the law, they will block the traffic, but they don't go as much as, wreak havoc within the society, but they cause inconveniences and nuisances. But things happen that led to where we are today. No one in this country can say they have not become violent. Apart from the clips we saw here, we have also seen with our eyes, some of us, how they have wreaked havoc in their protests. They will attack individuals. I myself, I was in traffic one day, and they will force you to call the name of El Zakzaki. They will give you a pamphlet collect. It started from there. Then it began to escalate. Then they will start destroying public properties and even private properties of members of the public. Now, what is the definition of terrorism? These are actions that become violent, a violent act or a threat to a violent act that has to a public or a section of the public that has a political aim or religious aim or other kind of aim. And that is it. So it fits into that definition. Like, that's what I tell you. The government gave them a long rope, and they didn't unknowingly or intentionally actually stepped into that trap the government set. And you see, let me tell you something. The issue is this. Once the government communicates this order of the court of proscription of the IMN, any member or someone who proposes to be part of it. Now, your activities in the past, it's almost like it's forgiven, unless if you were arrested or in the process of prosecution. But those members now, henceforth, after the gazetting or the communication of this information of the court order, you will be seen under the Nigerian Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, like as a terrorist. Being just a member or professing to be a member by virtue of Section 16 will carry you a maximum sentence of 20 years in jail just by being a member. Not to talk about participating in those meetings, those protests, and those activities. And why do government do that? Is to save lives and properties, because they are not the only Nigerians. They have the right of freedom of religion, and religion is aside. These are to actually address the violent activities that their protest has turned into. That is the aim of government. That is why government exists, to protect lives and properties of people.
All right.
Aliu, I'm just wondering, a part of the comment you made, you said government set a trap for them. That would appear not to be quite so.
No,
the government set a trap.
It's like, I don't mean intentionally.
Intentionally,
I mean,
yes,
they gave them long rope. What I mean, I was answering Mike when he said he wonders why the government, for an organization that exists for 40 years or so, or 30 years, why government didn't do something until now. And I was telling him, at first, they were not a violent organization, but they were a nuisance organization, quite sure. And even when they started this about 4 or 5 years, I think it started in 2014. You know, if you remember during the administration of former President Goodluck Jonathan, when they had an altercation with the army commander, and then there was time they even blocked the vice president then, Namadi Sambo, you know. So it started then. You can see, yes, why the government didn't do something? Government will allow you to come and then fit into the definition, because why did the court grant that order? The court granted that order because there were evidence supplied by the Office of the Attorney General, by the federal government, that indicates the activities of this group fall within a group that will be prescribed as a terrorist group. That is why a court will go ahead and grant an ex parte order in that regard. If they didn't get that evidence, they would. Our government took its time to gather this evidence. And when you said the security agencies and other bodies should have actually contemplated the actions, come on, really? In this country, definitely they have. What do you think they have been doing? You think this is of no concern? When this DCP Umar Usman was killed, actually, I was there. I was in his burial from the National Mosque even to the burial ground. All the top security personnel in this country, we are there, and they were really touched. So government is not right to say that government was not, or they haven't considered all the angles to come out of it. But now the proscription, do you know what the proscription tends to do? It tends to stop the bleeding. Because right now, we are bleeding. And who bleeds? The members of the public. What about Precious Olabi? He was a collateral in this war. Was he a member of Shiite, or was he a member of the security forces? He was neither. But where is his life today? A promising young life. His life cut short. So what the government is doing now is to cut short, to stop the bleeding. And then we can continue with other solutions you were preparing.
Michael, sir, I'd like you to also respond to...
I mean, it's unfortunate that we have had losses of lives. The Deputy Commissioner of Police and Precious, of course, and then, of course, others who have in the past lost their lives due to the activities of this organization. The point I make, and the point that every well-meaning Nigerian would make, is if, 2 points. One, the government has a constitutional responsibility to secure lives and property. No question about that. Number two, if the government has subscribed to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the expectation is that the Constitution will provide a roadmap, a guiding light, a limitation about or around actions of government. This is all one is saying. And if we had used this constitutional imperative or other legal provisions to respond to this group much earlier than now, then we will not be talking about Deputy Commissioner of Police. We will not be talking about Precious Owolabi. We will not be talking about other Nigerians who have lost their lives. The point I make is, now that you have proscribed the group, where is the evidence, or where is the likelihood that we're not going to see any more protests? These are people who are coming against armed security men, for goodness sake. These are people who, shots are fired and they're still, active in their activities. Is that the kind of response we want? And I have said this, and I'll say it one more time. Coming on the heels of our experience with Boko Haram, we need to be careful in dealing with this group. This is all I'm saying, Aliyu. I am not saying the group is allowed to do whatever it wants, or any other group is allowed to do whatever it wants in Nigeria. I'm just saying we need to be a bit more careful.
Michael, sir, I'll hold you there first. Let's go to Muhammad Ali, who's in Kaduna, to also speak to some of the issues that... Muhammad Ali, I'd like you to respond to some of the issues that Michael, sir, and Abdullah here have also raised. And then the question that I asked earlier. You have been in Kaduna. As you also speak to us too about, your experiences or, experiences of the public in Kaduna with this group, before they were proscribed in Kaduna. This is a group that has a disdain for law and order and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Of what effect would this proscription be?
It will go a long way in easing the tension people live with. Especially in Zaria, Gelesu area of Zaria local government, where El Zagzaki lived for over 30 years. It is really, really sad by the time you go to Gelesu and ask residents of their experiences while El Zagzaki was there, before they are banned by the Kaduna State government. and the subsequent demolition of his residence. When it is 5 p.m., nobody passes the street where his residence is located. You see armed wealthy youths all over the place, harassing passers-by, harassing motorists. In fact, in 2013, the then Kaduna State Governor, His Excellency Mukhtar Ramalan Yero, he was there to visit a sick friend, Alhaji Banadin. They blocked his convoy and insisted he will not go further from the point they stopped him. The governor had to come down, alight from his vehicle, and trek to the house of Alhaji Banadin. So the excesses and atrocities committed by airmen is very uncountable. Even last year here in Kaduna, they killed an inspector of police on a day El Zazaki was to be arraigned in court. They stabbed and killed a serving inspector of police. So the issue of killing is almost a routine thing to members of airmen, be it in Kaduna, in Zaria, in Kano, in Sokoto, in Katsina, all over the place. Wherever they are, the story is the same thing. One death after the other, except you subscribe to their own belief system. Otherwise, you will not be spared. So the position taken, I think, is very timely. But as Mr. Mike rightly said, we don't have to fold our arms. We certainly have to sit up and ensure that they are properly monitored, because there is the tendency they can go on the ground. And if they go on the ground, that portends a lot of danger, because it's good we know that these people are sitting on a lot of arms. If we recall, sometimes in October 2010, a shipment of arms was intercepted at a Apapa port. The arms were said to have been shipped from Bandar Abbas in Iran, and they were intercepted in Apapa port. One Azim Agajani, an Iranian, with 3 of his Nigerian accomplices were arrested. Sometimes they were detained and later taken to court, and in May 2013, they were all sentenced to 5 years each imprisonment. So we should not just rejoice that they have been banned. This is the time to start working around the clock and ensure that they don't constitute another nuisance. Just as Mr. Mike rightly said, this is the 10th year we are battling with Boko Haram. And should these people go on the ground and begin something else, I think they will be more dangerous to society than Boko Haram.
Muhammad Ali, still with you in Kaduna, let's try and construct some scenarios that should be a rude awakening, if you like, to the realities that might unfold. Since the IMN was proscribed by the Kaduna state government, what has happened to the group and to its members? Are they still able to congregate? Are they still able to carry out their usual demonstrations and harassment of members of the public? What do we know of the IMN as of today in Kaduna?
The proscription of IMN in Kaduna, I think there is relative peace. They don't congregate as they used to do. That apart, they have also changed their pattern, because traditionally they dress in black. But since the ban, they have now resorted to dressing like every normal Nigerian in order to hide their identity. But this is not to say they don't exist. In fact, before the elections, we had multitude of members of the IMN from all over states from all over northern Nigeria who came into Kaduna to register in order to unseat His Excellency Governor Nasiru El-Rufai during the elections. But that is not to be. So there are a lot of things that certainly we need to study. But again, there are certain things, Mr. Cyril, that are not for this fora. This is something I think we should share with members of the intelligentsia for them to push further in order to find solutions to some of these problems facing the nation today as a result of the excesses of the IMN.
Right, but Mohammed Ali, thank you very much. Of course, we appreciate the fact that you are circumscribing your responses. Obviously, it's a public forum, and what needs to be said can and should be said. And of course, what needs to be concealed has to be, for security purposes, that will also be concealed. Now, but let's address this. We all know Boko Haram. One key issue that has been used to describe members of Boko Haram is that they were radicalized. And for some of them who, of course, have been arrested and taken in, there's a program of de-radicalization. So, for a lay person, the question would be, for the IMN members, how radicalized are they? And on what tenets have they been radicalized? Are we likely to see a parallel with Boko Haram a decade later?
IMN are more radicalized than Boko Haram. And for your information, Muhammad Yusuf was at one time a student of El Zakzaki in Zaria. It is El Zakzaki that started the issue of Boko Haram. His early followers were made to destroy their certificates. Though that, in fact, even those that have attended university were asked to destroy their certificates. They burnt them under the pretense that it is an act of unbelief for one to go to acquire Western education. So the IMN, as they are today, they are more radicalized than Boko Haram. And this is where the danger lies. They are more radicalized. Some of them are educated. So it's a hydra-headed monster we are now going to deal with.
All right, let's get your views
on the whole discussion. Well, you see, let me tell you, Mohammed is right about the issue of the level of radicalization of the IMN members. I share his thoughts on that. When they hold strong views of how their version of Islam should be. And of course, when you hold those kind of strong views, you don't see other sections of Muslims like as if they are Muslims, or you see them as really people that that do not share anything in common with you. And the thing is this.
No, sorry, I want to get that right. So what you're saying is that their level of, the way they have been radicalized is that it's not just the average person who's not probably a Muslim, but that even a Muslim that doesn't share the same ideology with them, they don't regard that.
Of course, even actually much down the line, actually in their own list of tolerance level. You are much down the line. And this is a very long history how this actually come. It started somewhere from Iran, the dealings between the Iranian at that time and the Saudi Arabian leadership after the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these things, it started like a rivalry. Then it grew into strong beliefs. And you see, no thanks to the political actors that later comes into the scene of religion. That's why when you mix religion with politics, you get this kind of ideologies. So I share that same thought about the level of de-radicalization. But I also believe, because that's one question that I think you asked or Mike asked, what will the proscription do? This proscription will do a lot of things, actually, I believe. Because one, if you look at any protest or procession they're having, look at the number of youths that are there. Most of them, you know, they just follow, they really don't really know what they actually believe in. So, you see, with the proscription, a large number of the people that really, those ones that their radicalization was not as deep, you know, this proscription will work. They will have to retrace their steps back. That's the essence of something like that. Parents that see their wards join this kind of procession. Maybe some people do it out of let me catch fun. There is something going on, so maybe I don't have work. I'm an unemployed youth. I'm not in school, so I see something going on like that, and I jump in. So this proscription now will speak to people like that. But those ones with the deep-rooted ideology of the IMN, what they believe in, those ones, yes, I agree, they may likely not really work with the proscription order. Those ones will be monitored. And if you continue, if you come out even publicly to identify yourself as belonging to this group, the proscription will work. And how will it work? I just told you that by virtue of Section 16 of the Terrorism Act of Nigeria, the current one, you attract a jail term of 20 years. And that should be enough to deter anyone in his right senses.
I'd like Michael Sir to come in here. Michael Sir, just before you, I know you're itching to speak to some of the issues that he's raised, but just before you continue, just last week there was a report, and of course I actually saw the footage or the pictures online of some Iranians at the Nigerian embassy who went to protest. And this has become a cause of concern for a lot of Nigerians as to foreign interference, which we term as being political as regards to the Shiite movement.
So, we have our job cut out for us. And I say this precisely because, I mean, it might sound irresponsible on my part, but out of adversity sometimes good comes. Boko Haram has been a huge, huge problem in this country, but it has provided us a template on which we can act. In the case of the Islamic movement, we don't have an identified foreign. With Boko Haram, we couldn't for sure say this is the foreign country that is in support of Boko Haram. But in the case of the Islamic movement, it is very clear. I mean, even my 11-year-old daughter knows that Iran has links with. So there is a diplomatic issue here to be dealt with. That is one. Two, Muhammad Ali in Kaduna, and I totally agree, I subscribe to his viewpoint, talks about radicalization, or rather it was Kingsley that mentioned the issue of radicalization. We can even go beyond radicalization and talk about issues of, the wider context of violent extremism in our country, Nigeria. So I say we have a template upon which to act. Yes, the court order might help, but it has its limitations. Tomorrow, lawyers, or already, I'm sure you've read, there have been reactions from very senior lawyers in this country saying that, the court order is wrong. But if it is wrong or right, it's neither here nor there. What do we need to do to deal with this situation and to deal with it in a way that we do not have to deal with two insurgencies at the same time? This is my concern primarily. What do we need to do? And I think we need to do a lot more than just obtain an order of court that with a certain level of rigor you might want to put down.
Okay, Mike, Aliu, and Mohammed, gentlemen, we're continuing with this conversation, but we'll go on a short break right now.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You're here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me jab questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time thing.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Later.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back here on the stage. Good morning, Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have our three guests with us, Mohammed Ali Kaduna, Mike Usaha, and Ali Abdullahi, both of them lawyers right here with us in the Abuja studios. We're still on the track of the implications of what is unfolding for national security. Mohammed Ali, my question goes to you. Once radicalization is in, that of course implies indoctrination, which some experts or most experts will tell you is not amenable to guns and bullets. From your perspective, as a takeoff point now that there would appear to be a desire or a determination by government to take on the challenge, as it were, that IMN has posed to Nigeria's security, what should be done henceforth?
Well, after the proscription, I think, as I said earlier, the proscription does not allow them from practicing their religious rights, like going on pilgrimage, attending the 5 daily prayers, and so on. In this process, government should look at the possibility of dialoguing with them to let them see reason why they should be law-abiding, and they should recognize all constituted authorities in this country. Flying Iranian flags in Nigerian soil will not in any way help them. Nigeria is a sovereign state. Nigeria is not an appendage of Iran. So this they have to understand, and they must respect the sovereignty of Nigeria. But where they feel otherwise, then I think the best thing is for them to migrate and move back to Iran. But much as they remain within the confines called Nigeria, they have to submit to the laws and regulations governing the conduct of everything, including religion, because people are to some extent free to behave the way they like, but we must accept certain standards. So this, I think, is what government should focus on. The proscription is quite okay, but let's see how we can engage their leaders. They have quite a number of leaders. They have professors in some of our universities and so on. So let's identify some of these leaders and dialogue with them. That, I think, will be one of the feasible ways to get out of this rigmarole.
Well, Mohammed Ali, I mean, again, to the extent that some of this can't be disclosed, how much do we know about the extent of the tentacles of IMN in most states of the Federation? Or, more likely, where is their most concentration? So that if a program on de-radicalization or winning their hearts and minds is going to kick off, you would know the epicenter to really focus on.
The most concentrated areas are Kaduna State, Kano State, and Katsina State. Although the leaders in both Kano and Katsina, Sanusi Abdul Qadir Koki, who is the governor in Kano, is on the run, and Yakubu Yahaya Katsina is also on the run, who is the leader in Katsina State. So I think these are, and then of course Gombe and Bauchi states, they have also very strong bases there. And then Even states in the southern part of the country, they have membership, they have leaders all over there. So with time, we have a catalog of some of these leaders, their names, their contacts, and things like that. But I think, like I said much earlier, there are certain things I shouldn't say loud because it's not for this forum, Mr. Kingsley.
All right, thank you very much, Mohammed Ali. Thank you for your thoughts there. Let's come back here to our Abuja. Well, Abdullahi, you're a legal practitioner. Just as Mike Uta said something later, that some, of course, bigwigs in the law profession have come out to say that this is unconstitutional. As a lawyer, does the government have a right to ban? Doesn't the government have a right to ban a religious group because there's this issue of, oh, you cannot ban a religious group. That's one issue that they are standing on. Can't a government ban a religious group when it becomes as violent as the Islamic movement in Nigeria has become?
That's an interesting question. You see, I have been reading all sorts of, it's time like this that people will come and be telling you the constitutional freedom of people to assemble, to practice their religion, and things like that. Yes, they are guaranteed there in the Constitution under Chapter 4 of the Constitution. But even in that chapter, there is a derogatory provision there, Section 45, which qualifies those rights. Those rights are not absolute. They don't enjoy absolution. If the guaranteeing of that particular right of religion, let's say religion or association, if it will not be in the public interest, or it will cause issues of national security, or affect the rights of others, especially the rights of the public, who are in majority in number, that particular right that you want to actually shout out to the world that you have under the Constitution is suspended by virtue of Section 45. Now that is that one. Now to take a step further, the federal government approached the courts, make its own case, and get this organization banned. Like you said, why did they do that? Because the practice of their religion is not about practice. The government did not sought out to ban them from practicing their religion. Okay. Government sought out to ban its criminal activities. And what are those criminal activities? For God's sake, we're all living here in Abuja. We saw what happened in the past 2 weeks. You go out, and when you hear that they are out around the central area, your heart, if you're caught in the traffic, is jumping. Yes, it's jumping up. You don't know what will happen to you. Stray bullets, tear gas, whatever. What was the consequence of that? So you see, because of these activities, that is why government did not even only rely on Section 45, but went ahead, to seek for the proscription of this group. They did right by doing that. And they are within the law. So all the lawyers that are telling you now that the action of government is unconstitutional. So why do you even say government? Because the court granted the order. Now, the same set of people, you see, now when government fold its arms and did nothing, they will be the first that will hit, the social media and other forms of traditional media and start criticizing government that this government has failed to act. Maybe perhaps because this is a group that emanated from the northern Nigeria where the president comes from. Maybe because the president is Muslim, even though he's not a Shiite. So you see all theories out there if government has not taken a stand.
All right.
And they will say IPOP was not even as violent as this group, or they didn't cause havoc, but at the same time, we are proscribed in this country. And what happened after IPOP was proscribed? Did you hear IPOP again? Yes, you may see them on social media, but to the way that blatant disregard and disrespect to the rule of law, to the constitution of the country, we have failed to see that. We haven't seen that since government took that stand.
All right. Ali Abdullahi, thank you very much. Michael Saha.
Yes.
Are there constitutional issues arising from the ex parte order granted by the court?
Lots of
declaring IMN a terrorist organization.
Lots
and
of
therefore
constitutional
issues to prescribe it.
Kingsley. The first, and I'm sure this will be raised along the line. At the time this order was obtained, there was no sitting Attorney General.
It doesn't matter.
The
government continues to function.
Aliu, let's let him.
The case, I don't know whether you have seen the order. I have a copy.
I've seen it.
Don't forget
the Permanent Secretary acts, in the capacity of the Attorney General.
Permanent Secretary is the Solicitor General.
And acts for the Attorney General in the event that the Attorney General is not there.
All right. Aliu, let him make his point. Let him make his point, yes.
So you asked whether there are constitutional issues, and I'm saying there are a number of them. The question whether it is legitimate or right for a Solicitor General to approach the court in the name of the Attorney General of the Federation at a time there is no sitting Attorney General. This is one of the issues that might come before the court. Secondly, you talked about Section 45. Actually, Section 45 of the Constitution has been elaborated upon by the Supreme Court in the case of Asari Dokubo and the federal government of Nigeria. Now, the difference between Asari Dokubo and this case is Asari had a chance to respond, and that is why the case went through the ranks of the court right up to the Supreme Court. This particular order was obtained through an ex parte application. I think it was filed the same day, it was granted the same day.
Because of its urgency.
I go to the third point.
I will respond to those.
The third point is, and you know this, Kingsley, the courts are on vacation. So what was that urgency that was there that required the vacation judge of the Federal High Court to act in this matter? And I'm saying this, Aliu, because the question is, are there fundamental constitutional issues that have arisen as a result of this order? Surely there are. There are fundamental constitutional issues that have arisen. And that's why I'm saying you won't be talking about whether there are questions arising if we had applied a certain level of rigor. And from the beginning of this program to the end, my position has been we can do better.
What is your idea of the certain rigor that you're talking about that we should have applied? I'd like you to speak to that.
Oh, well, I mean, the counter response will be, where is the evidence showing that we have applied rigor in our response? We just got up and decided, well, we're going to ban this group. This is a group that has been operating for the past nearly 40 years. Mohammed Ali in Kaduna has told us in 2013, a governor was forced to trek from a particular point with all the security that is around a governor. He was forced to trek from a particular point to the other. For goodness sake, why did it take us 6 years to obtain an ex parte order proscribing this organization? Why did it take the death of innocent Nigerians for us to now suddenly get up and say there is an emergency?
I want to ask you, with the way that, court issues...
Wasn't that the reason why Aliu said, I mean, well, let's say loosely, with due respect to him, that was why the government set a trap.
That's where I'm going to, because, with the way that court cases or issues of the law are being treated in Nigeria.
Yes.
I say so because we have all sorts of arguments when an issue comes up.
Yes.
And then we begin to quote all the, sections upon sections.
Yes.
If these people, because what he said earlier was, this was a peaceful group. Aside the fact that, okay, they asked the governor to work. If a motion had been filed at that time, before now, when they had not become violent, how far would that have gone?
Now, don't forget, Muhammad Ali has told us, and I think Ali also agrees to it, that this group has constituted itself into a nuisance.
Yes.
And you only need to go to the area in Zaria where they operate. I watched the video of their encounter with the Chief of Army Staff. I have watched videos of their encounter with the group in Zuba, I think, when
the military at the time were conveying arms and ammunition.
Exactly.
Yes.
What more did we need to act against this group in a way that will not place lives and property in jeopardy? What did we need?
Yeah, well, let me return to the constitutional matters arising, because that's part of the point that some of the lawyers who have spoken have raised. Does the proscription order in any way infringe on the guaranteed rights of freedom of assembly, freedom of worship?
Fair hearing also.
You know, actually for
a terrorist,
if it is not in furtherance to the IMN criminal activities, it doesn't infringe upon. Like a statement released by Malangarba Shehu, that order doesn't say you cease to be a Muslim and a Shiite Muslim for it. You see, let me make this something very clear here. I think we are missing. There are the IMN sects of Shiite is just one out of others. So there are other Shiite groups that are not, they don't subscribe to IMN or their beliefs or what they are doing. And they are fine. So, but what the order, that proscription order seeks to do was about their violent criminal activities which fall into the definition of terrorism. But if you continue to be a Shiite, it doesn't matter whether you're a Sunni Muslim, a Shiite, a Christian, a traditionalist, you have that guaranteed protection to practice your religion. Nigeria is a secular state. Do your own religion. But where in exercise of those your religion activities, you become violent and you don't recognize the authority of the state, then, and you happen to be a member of this group where the federal government sought an order to proscribe, then you will fall within this definition. So their religion is guaranteed. They continue to be Muslims, practice their religion, you know, even do their procession. But this thing that they normally do, run around here, Abuja, Lagos, Kano, running after cars, climbing on top of cars and hitting windscreens, crashing, and sometimes throwing stones, attacking securities and other unsuspecting bypassers. This one is proscribed. And if they catch you, when they arrest you doing it, I'm telling you, they will apply that terrorism act on you. And it's 20 years. Now, I wanted to answer Mike on the constitutional issues he raised. You mentioned about 4 issues. The lack of a sitting attorney general. I want to first say, you see, beside the fact that
those are procedural issues.
Yeah, they are procedural issues, and really they wouldn't, like, you know, there is a decision by the Supreme Court. Those ones, they wouldn't actually take the substantive part of the law, unless if they will occasion a miscarriage of justice. The Federal Ministry of Justice will continue to act.
Is it a constitutional issue? It is a constitutional
issue. But it won't actually validate this court order. Secondly, you mentioned, what did you mention as your second issue of constitutional issue? I kind of...
Well, it talked about the fact that the vacation judge, decided.
Really?
It talked also about the fact that...
So because the court... Why do we have the vacation judges in place at the first time? Because we cannot leave, the judiciary cannot just close those completely. They know there are cases that will come and it will require urgency to be attended.
So what was the urgency in this one?
Good question. The urgency in this one, you saw their last outing, one of their last, because they actually came out after that. You saw the level of escalation. Is the escalation in their activity, their protest violence? First, don't forget, the Inspector General of Police brought out a circular which limited protests within Abuja metropolis to a certain area, the Unity Fountain. They didn't respect that. They kept going to other places. They engaged with security, which resulted into the death of innocent people, including members of the security agency, right? And people thought maybe this, even their members actually were killed. True. People thought maybe that is...
the end of it.
That is the end of it. But guess what? The next day they were out. After the next day, they were still out. Now, doesn't that to you since it requires some sense of urgency that government should at least do something by approaching the court. The government didn't even went ahead to prescribe it. Like in the UK, the Home Secretary, are you aware that in the United Kingdom, the Home Secretary, when if an organization fits a number of criteria, can actually unilaterally proscribe an organization as, as a terrorist group?
Abdullahi, I'll come to you in just a moment. Let's very quickly, we're almost out of time. Let's quickly go to Muhammad Ali in Kaduna. Muhammad Ali, I'd like to read a statement that was made by RAF, as in RAF. That's it's a Shiite group, a foundation in Gombe, and it has appealed to the federal government to protect its member following the backlash of this. How do we ensure that with this proscription, other Shiite groups, because what some people don't understand now, even people who are very, educated or people who have read this haven't understood now, is that it is the IMN that has been banned, and that there are other Shiites who go about their normal duties across the country, who on a daily basis are peaceful and law-abiding. How do we go about this proscription in such a way that those kind of people are protected, that they do not suffer a backlash from this proscription?
The RAF shared group in Gombe, we also have the Ahl al-Azam group. They are also a Shiite group, but they are peaceful. They work in government. They believe in the leadership of the Nigerian state. So for them, it is easy for them to identify themselves, because in the first place, they don't partake in the protest marches and the violence exhibited by IMN. So they have little or nothing to fear. They will still carry on with their activities as a normal religious group and as Nigerians. But the IMN remains proscribed, but Ahl al-Azam and RAF can continue with their activities because they are lawful. They recognize the sovereignty of Nigeria and the government in place. In the case of IMN, they don't. Their loyalty is to Iran. So this is where the difference arises. And I want to quickly respond to the issue raised by Mr. Mike when he talked about constitutional issues. Whenever issues of constitution come in conflict with matters of national security, issues of national security takes precedence. So whether there are constitutional breaches or not, I think what matters most in this case is the issue of national security.
All right, thank you very much, Muhammad Ali.
Rhoda, that's a contentious point that Muhammad has raised, and I'm sure Mike and Abdullahi, both of them are here. I'm sure they are shaking their head in disagreement.
Forgive me, he's not a lawyer.
He's not. No, but he just said that national security issues do not trump what you have in the Constitution, which is the ground law. The definition and issues, operations, and other things take their authority from the Constitution itself. But otherwise, the point that Muhammad Ali made, those points are very well noted. Gentlemen, let's get your closing thoughts on this. The security agencies will have their plate full now.
Yeah, I mean, but that's true, Kingsley. But then we have expertise now. Having dealt with Boko Haram for 10 years, we have expertise in terms of de-radicalization. We have expertise, even within the military and outside, in how to deal with de-radicalization, violent extremism, and reintegration, and all of those things. So this is the time to deploy all these resources in response to this, what Muhammad Ali refers to as a monster. We really need a multi-sectoral response to this issue. Yes, there's a court order. For now, there's nothing we can do about it. But beyond the court order, how do we ensure that this doesn't, degenerate to a level that we might be forced to deal with a second insurgency?
All right, let's get your thoughts.
Let's also don't forget, because a lot of people are confusing the present situation about the position of El Zakzaky in the whole issue as like most people felt he is granted bail under the federal government. He's still been held by the federal government. That also needs to be really clarified. I cannot re-emphasize the fact that his case is before Kaduna State High Court, and the charges were prepared by the Kaduna State government, and he is not currently granted on bail. In fact, I am sure today, maybe, I think it's today, that his bail hearing for medical leave will be had. So that is, people don't normally mix the two. They felt that the federal government are the ones holding him. Since federal government, I think, have washed its hands, so his case is with the federal, with the Kaduna State government. That has to be emphasized. And secondly, I believe that after this, we may likely see the escalation of the activities, the violent activities that we're beginning to see from this group IMN with this proscription order. Thirdly, I will also see where Nigerians won't play politics. You know, with what we are having at hand. It's time to join government. When government is trying to do the right thing, protect lives, let us support them. Yes, constructive criticism of government is good. In fact, it's one of the cardinal principles of democracy. Government needs to be on their toes, but let us do it with circumspect. Let us join hands, you know, because now, like I'm telling you...
We join hands on legs.
Exactly.
Okay, Ali Abdullahi, the lawyer and public affairs analyst, a guest usually on Good Morning Nigeria. I would like to thank you for being around.
Thank you, Kingsley.
Mike Usaha, also a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst. Thanks a lot for your perspectives.
My pleasure.
From Kaduna, we're joined by Muhammad Ali, not a heavyweight boxer though, but... Okay, this is a heavy punch on security issues. Muhammad Ali, thank you very much for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Good Morning Nigeria.
Very much, Kingsley.
We need to apologize to our viewers. We're having some issues with our connections, so the tweets are not coming down. We're not able to download them, but quite a number of those tweets came in, and they needed to pass through the gatekeepers. But unfortunately, we had those glitches. Thank you, regardless, for sending in your tweets. Let's go over now to our sports desk.
Nasser